Welcome to Accelerate Your Business Growth with your host, Diane Helbig. Diane is a leading small business development and leadership coach, author, and speaker who is passionate about sharing valuable ideas, tips, and techniques with business professionals worldwide. Diane brings you the world's experts and gurus in all things business, whether it's sales, structure, social media, planning, or plateauing. Guests bring their expertise and energy to each episode. When growing your business is your focus, Accelerate Your Business Growth is the show to listen to. Got a topic or guest suggestion? Let Diane know. The goal is to make sure you have the information you need to move your business forward. Thanks for joining us. Settle in and enjoy.
Hello, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today. We are so excited to be talking with Alicia in a couple minutes. But first, we want to talk about our sponsor. Today's show is sponsored by Audible.com. Audible.com is a leading provider of spoken audio entertainment and information. Listen to audiobooks whenever and wherever you want. You can get a free book when you sign up for a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/businessgrowth. And many of you know, but in case you don't, this show was named on the list of the 100 podcasts to listen to if you want to be smarter, wiser, and better on Inc.com. And it also made the list of the best small business podcasts on Fit Small Business. I am truly grateful that we have landed on both of those lists. It means an awful lot to me. And I know it is because of the guests that I get on the show who bring you such valuable information. Today's guest is no exception to that rule. It is Alicia Nicole Waters. She is a cross-industries entrepreneur who's very passionate about bringing her total essence to the world through cross-pollinating her gifts throughout diverse industries. Some of her primary roles that she serves in are a media communications mentor, cross-industries branding specialist, cross-niche journalist, and speaker for diverse industries. She's a multimedia personality, published author of over 90 books, and an ordained minister. Alicia is CEO of the Global Trinity Empires, which include Alicia Waters Cross Industries International, Global Evolutionary Leaps Incorporated, and Many Ways to Abundant Publishing. She shows up in the world as the total me empires of demonstrating how she uses all of her experiences to serve various venues. She's also the founder of her multimedia ministry, the Evolutionary Kingdom of Truth International, and it is my honor and pleasure to welcome her to the show. Alicia, how are you doing?
I am doing great. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here with you and your listeners, and let me offer my hearty congratulations to you with your success with the show and that high honor of being on those lists. That is phenomenal.
Yeah, thanks. It was a surprise, which is always nice, and really a thrill. And I mean it when I say it. It really is because of the guests. Everyone comes on and they give such great information that, is really valuable to business people all over the place. Mm-hmm. So the topic that we're going to talk about today, this, positioning yourself with the media, it is so important, and I think it is a mystery to small business owners. It feels like it's this big thing. It feels like, it's changed so much, too, in the past couple of years. Can you tell my listeners really why it's important to have an accurate preparation process for media success? What is it about making sure that you are, that your preparation is right on? That's so important.
Absolutely. I would be glad to. See, Diane, it's not enough just to get in front of the right audience. This is very important. You have to ask yourself the question, are you prepared to serve them correctly and to add value to them at the highest level? That's extremely important. You want to make sure that you're properly prepared for the right audience and also that you've explored the right aligned venues to support those efforts. So knowing your target audience or your emerging tribe and properly preparing to serve them is very, very important, and especially as it relates to making the impact and also the income that you desire. And as we know, in order to make a true connection to serve people at the highest level, you have to really know not only will offer the offers that you have that are going to best serve them, but you also want to know their connection factor for media. You know, how did you communicate a certain aspect of your offering? Does it need to be through blogging? Does it need to be through teleseminars, YouTube, radio, television, live media events? We can go on and on about the various mediums that you can use. So it's not just enough to present yourself as an expert from having mastered your skills or you've spent so many years helping others to get the results. But you also must have the right alignment to properly position yourself on the right communication mediums in order to be most effective. And if I can share also that having the right media marketing alignment is also very critical to one's overall success in the media arena. One of the most common mistakes that's made by speakers, authors, and entrepreneurs is they start putting themselves out in the media without fully understanding what it takes in order to achieve, but not only achieve, but also sustain the success, as well as I mentioned previously, knowing what venues that you need to explore. So that's very, very critical. Did you want to jump in before I go on? Because I could really speak about this.
Yeah, thank you. So I just want to make sure that I'm hearing this correctly, because I feel like one of the things that I'm hearing you say is you have to really know where you should be and how you should, right? And how you should be providing information. It's not enough just to say, okay, I'm going to get out there and I'm just, information all over the place.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You are spot on, because the overall arching goal is really to be able to effectively communicate value, and you want to communicate value that converts. So you want to make sure that you get accurate wisdom and understanding of what transformations your target market will respond and pay for. And again, as mentioned previously, also what multimedia platforms are going to be great entry-level connection points for them. And this is all part of the preparation process for really accurately knowing how to serve and or even show up in the media correctly. And if I can share another awareness, I definitely would offer for the listeners to consider when preparing is to also examine whether or not you are still aligned to serve who you've been serving, or even the way that you've served. You have to ask yourself the question, have you outgrown your present tribe, or even some of the business models that you use, the programs that you've been implementing, different offers that you've been using? You really have to examine your evolutionary process of really your whole entire entrepreneurial journey. Reason being, because if you don't know how to make the proper shifts or even to create the awareness that we're talking about today for yourself in these areas, then guess what? You will continue to spin your wheels and produce more of the same in your reality, and even if you're doing really well. But you're not going to have the awareness or know how to make the proper adjustments so that you can start playing at not just the good level, but start up-leveling yourself to greatness, and that's extremely important for alignment.
Okay, so hang on a second. I want to sit on this for a minute. So if I'm using a certain medium and it's working for me and I'm converting, what do I guess I want to better understand what it is I should be looking at, if it starts not converting as much, or, in order to make sure that I'm actually where I should be, or should I be shifting? Like, how do I know?
Yeah, definitely. And we're going to talk about the power of the present moment at some point in this conversation. That's really, really critical, really, really vital to getting repositioned and knowing really how to make those shifts. But to answer what you're saying is that if something is doing well for you, of course, people say, well, if it's not broke, don't fix it, continue to use it. But what can happen is that you can ask yourself the powerful question in the moment. I know that this has been working for me, and it's been taking my business or my brand to the next level. Is there another avenue that I should consider integrating into what I'm doing? Or do I give pause even on a platform that's working very well and maybe try to launch myself on another platform? So it's really about asking empowering questions and getting present with that so you can know how you need to make the proper shifts. But if you're doing well where you are, then definitely if you want to continue to up-level, then explore possibly other mediums that can help further facilitate that growth.
Okay, that's great. So I think one of the things that small business owners run into is they're where they are, it's working for them, but then someone says to them, oh, no, you need to be here. Like I've had people say, you need to be on Instagram. And I'm like, okay, well, I can't even necessarily wrap my head around it. But so then I think what they do is they feel like they're supposed to be places because other people are telling them they should be there.
Right.
But are there it sounds to me like what you're saying is they need to be doing that preparation, they need to be doing that research before they go jumping into something.
Absolutely.
Is there anything that you would say, like I don't know, are there questions they should be asking themselves, or, is there, when we talk about that preparation process, what do you think?
Just like the powerful questions that I was, the empowering questions rather, that I was mentioning about when we get present and we slow down and we begin to ask, should I be using a certain platform? Checking to see what is in alignment for you, because just because it's the new shiny object and everybody seems to be doing that and using that, just because it works well for them, it doesn't mean that it's going to be the best fit for you. And again, going back to the research of even knowing your target market and their communication styles, because sometimes we are communicating in a misaligned way. Something that we're articulating on a blog post actually should be broadcast, and then vice versa. Something that we're articulating on a broadcast actually should be in a blog post. It would be received better that way. So when you find your right alignment, which you're only going to know this when you are sitting down, taking the time to accurately prepare and to get to know your audience, and again, in their communication styles. Obviously, there are surveys that people can put out to learn more about what their audience is looking for. It's great to use various mediums in order to communicate your message, but at the same time, you got to make sure that on those platforms you are giving the accurate communication that's going to connect for them.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It does. It definitely does. So I really appreciate that. So if we have listeners who have never used any sort of media, they haven't done anything, what is the best way for them to get started, do you think?
Well, definitely I'm going to recommend, if you're new to media and you've never used it before, I highly recommend enrolling a mentor or a coach to help you sort of jumpstart your success and create that sacred space of accountability and support around your process. Now, if you can't hire a coach or a mentor, here are some simple things that you can start with. If you have a website, I would recommend create a simple media press page on that website. And even if you don't have any interviews, let's say you don't have any blog posts or any magazine articles to put up there, what you could do is make it a coming soon or an upcoming events page. And then you can include a short bio with a few things about yourself and a picture, headshot preferred, and then also some of the topics that you're going to cover. in the future or something that currently that you have upcoming as an event. So there are various ways that you can simply get started. Another way I'm going to suggest is really get out there, get featured in the media. You can start with guest blogging, also hosting teleseminars if you've never hosted one, and also start getting on podcasts and doing exactly what we're doing now. We're having a conversation about a topic that we're very, very passionate about, and we know that it's important, and it's also, an area of expertise for me that I really love to share about. So getting on podcasts, whether you're doing your own show or being featured on a few platforms. As we were talking earlier about exploring venues, find shows that are going to be a great fit for your expertise, and then you can begin reaching out to those hosts. I would definitely recommend via their website and request to be a guest on their platform. Another recommendation is also ask friends and colleagues to interview you. And even if they don't have a talk show, have them to interview you on a conference line, then get recommendations or testimonials from them about why you make a great guest for shows. And then after, you can upload that recording and then put that on your media press page. Also include the testimonials. And again, if you don't have any articles or writings, here's a suggestion. I'm going to recommend start publishing posts on LinkedIn, or again, request to guest blog, maybe on one of your colleagues' platforms, just in order to get content that you can easily put up on a media press page. So those are some simple steps to get started.
Those are fabulous. Thank you. And I love that idea about just having one of your friends or colleagues interview you. Everyone's got a recorder on their phone or on their computer or, whatever, Just go ahead and have them interview you, and then you can use that or, those are great. So you said something before, I think a couple of times, about up-leveling your media presence. Can you explain to me, how me or anyone would do that?
Yes, absolutely. I would love to. So one of the ways that you can begin really up-leveling your media presence is really by connecting more fully to your branding power, having a full connection to your branding power. So you discover how to make your brand more valuable in the media marketplace. And I always like to ask powerful questions. So one of those questions that you can ask yourself is, how can I do what I currently do with more excellence? Or another one could be, how can I make my brand and offerings more valuable to create an even bigger win-win for myself and for my audience? So that's a way to get started, by just asking that powerful question so that you can begin to know how you need to show up. Another thing is you have to define how you want to show up in the media for your next phase and really begin to get clear about the impact you desire to make, and also the income as well. We're going to get into more of that. And there are so many great ways that you can begin to really start even repurposing your brand. I like to use the AT&T model, Rethink Possible. So you start rethinking possible about your brand to create infinite possibilities, to really showcase your presence and also to up-level your efforts. Another recommendation I would suggest is to really start focusing on your unique factor, and then start to sort of maximize the distinction of your brand power. So I'm going to use this as an example. If you want to show up as a pioneer leader who's setting a new industry standard, which we all do, there are so many different experts in a variety of fields. People in our fields, the same niches, it's a variety of experts. But you have to convey to the marketplace what is going to set your brand apart from others, and why should people consider you? What are you adding value to them in your know, like, and trust factor in order for them to say, I want you to help me get to the next level? So this will help you in establishing a presence. And I say that it's powerful. It's powerful in a way because it demonstrates your brand mission, even through your copy, your social media, any of the mediums that you're using to really position yourself. And if I can, is it all right if I sort of share how I use my unique factor?
Sure, that'd be great.
Sort of separates me? Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll use myself as an example. So I focus on my unique factor as being a cross-pollinator of my talents and expertise, in cross-industries or cross-niche entrepreneurship. And as you mentioned in the bio, some of my roles that I serve in as a multi-industry media personality, actually, and a cross-niche journalist. And one of the things that I powerfully show up in is that I provide over 100 journal-style trainers and many books, and I also use those as marketing vehicles as entry with ease into other industries. And I also specialize in customizing cross-branding to entrepreneurs who really desire to repurpose their brand in order to serve in a variety of different venues. So the unique factor about that is that there's not a lot of experts, if any, really teaching that model. And even though there are some who teach the niche marketing, but it's really from, let's say, the perspective of showing you how to make profits in a hidden market or promoting several affiliate products to make money in different industries that maybe you don't even have a passion about or even have no background in. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, because you certainly can discover a new passion for a market and learn about it and begin to add value to others to make a profit. But normally people who are very passionate about being entrepreneurs are going to be the tribe that's really interested in taking the limits off of their current business frameworks. The ones that I would serve would be ones who want to cross-pollinate their offerings so that they can serve and be more expansive with using what they already have. So they want a connection to whatever it is that they're sharing. So focusing on the unique factor of your branding will powerfully position you to show up really as a new era pioneer in the media, and you really want to exude that presence. Another recommendation for showing up powerfully in the media and really having a dynamic essence isn't really always about you having to be the self-promoter, so to speak. You can also start establishing a promotional ambassador review team, and this can consist of colleagues, your clients, even a group that you're a part of, or that individuals you start to enroll to showcase your brand and your offerings in the media. So this is not just about, let's say, writing testimonials or having YouTube videos, and those are great. Those are absolutely great to have. But what I'm going to recommend, and it could be a stretch, is elevating those tools and finding individuals who will do elevated reviews that can actually do brand, service, or product demonstrations. So can I sort of like role play or give an example of that?
Sure.
Okay. So let's say that you have a book and someone from your focus group or one of your colleagues, they're regular on YouTube. And so that day they feature a video where they're just having a normal day. And so, I woke up this morning and today I read in such and such book about X, Y, and Z. And on page 127, this is what she shared about. I'm inspired by this today. I love this book. The cover, the binding, all of that, is just perfect. I like the energy from this book. But the tip from this book really, really spoke to me. And this is what I'm going to start implementing in my day. So I wanted to share this with you all so that you can be empowered. Check out this book. You can get it on Amazon. And she points to the link. And so someone who's actually doing a demonstration for you. And this can work even with a teleclass, okay? So if you have a teleclass that you offer and it's one that you offer regularly, then you can have someone who's attended do a video of, I attended today the teleclass for the top 10 reasons why X, Y, and Z. And here's one of the takeaways. The biggest takeaways that I had was X, Y, and Z. And I just wanted to share that with you all so that you can be empowered. But also, I'm going to encourage you to click the link below and sign up for this teleclass and make sure you share with me even the tip, what were your takeaways. I'm going to do a follow-up video on what I implemented, but I want to hear from you. So sign up for the teleclass facilitated by X, Y, and Z, and I'll check back in with you soon. So having people actually do live demonstrations of your product or your brand will really help to up-level your presence.
That's
Sorry for
awesome.
the information.
No, that was great. That was really great. Because when you first started talking about, your ambassadors and those people and them, doing product demonstrations, I'm thinking, okay, wait a minute, I don't have a product, so that's interesting. But then when you gave those examples, then I totally got it. And it actually reminded me of when I was involved in this weird speaker showcase thing. It wasn't weird, but anyway, I was like the moderator of this thing, the MC. And they had people who had attended go into a separate room and they videotaped them giving a testimonial for, whoever was one of the speakers that they really liked and what they learned from them. And that's what that reminded me of. It's that kind of, you have someone else, telling your story sort of, talking about why other people should want to, buy what it is you have to sell. It's really, those are great. Now, we have to stop for a sponsor break. So
absolutely,
here we go. Accelerate Your Business Growth Radio is happy to be sponsored by Audible.com. Audible.com is a leading provider of spoken digital audio entertainment and information. They have over 150,000 titles to choose from, and you can listen to them on any device, including whatever you're hearing us on right now. If you sign up at our link, which is audibletrial.com/businessgrowth, you get one free audiobook and a 1-month trial of the service. Some examples of books you can listen to on Audible.com are The Secret of Peak Productivity by Tamara Miles and The Go-Giver by Bob Berg. So visit audibletrial.com/businessgrowth, explore the books that are of interest to you, and receive one free audiobook when you sign up for the trial. Today we are talking to Alicia Nicole Waters about using the media successfully in your business. If you have a question or a comment, we would love it if you would share it. If you're in the chat room, you can type it in, and I will share it with Alicia. If you are on the phone, you can press 1, and that will let me know you have something to share. So I had a question, but I want to hold it for a minute because I really have been wanting to ask you about the 7 pillars of powerfully positioning your media success. I'm wondering if you've shared some of those with us already in some of these ideas that you've been throwing out. But I would love it if you would share the 7 with my audience.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So we actually have talked about one, which is preparation, and I'm actually going to talk about the preparation process from a different vantage point than what I was speaking about earlier when we were talking about accurately preparing. So the 7 pillars for powerfully positioning your media success are preparation, presentation, public speaking, podcasting, publishing, publicity, and profits, of course. And those are very basic, but it's how you use them in the media. And even though all of these areas are very important and we use them all sometimes at the same time, but when it comes to mastery of these pillars, I really recommend only working on your maybe 2 or 3 major areas at a time. And if someone's just beginning, I would recommend only choose maybe one major area and then a minor. So go back to your college days, choose your major and your minor areas that you want to focus on. And an example is like if you choose to focus, let's say, on podcasting as a major to really get your feet wet with being interviewed or even hosting your own show. So your minor could be in publishing as you're starting to work on your first book project and you're starting to learn the ins and outs of the media. And if you're, let's say, a seasoned professional, then I would recommend that if you're already using these 7 pillars, then start up-leveling 2 major areas and maybe choose one minor or vice versa. And an example is that you could select, let's say, the area as a major in public speaking to work on your current talk, or you're developing a new talk while you're also working on your profits model. And then let's just say you choose a minor in the area of publicity and you start delegating that area to maybe an agent or a publicist or a marketing manager, whichever you use. But you want to make sure that you choose the most aligned areas to start working on first, because once you get in the flow and you begin to start creating momentum with these areas, then you can start incorporating some of the others into your next phase. And eventually, as I mentioned before, you're going to see all 7 pillars already in operation for your media success, but you want to keep consistently amping those up. And consistency, as we know, is extremely important when you're in the media. So if I can I make sort of some distinctions
Sure.
in the preparation process from what I was speaking about earlier? So earlier we were talking about being accurately aligned, and this still applies. But the preparation that I'm talking about within the 7 pillars is really about mastering your media mindset and your planning, your master planning process. Because as we know, preparation is an ongoing process.
Yeah.
But you have to be mentally ready for the media. You know, it's definitely, as I mentioned, an ongoing process of not only being mentally but skillfully and confidently ready also for your success. But you want to be a master craftsman at what you do in exuding your expertise. That's very critical to your success.
Yeah.
However, mindset mastery for the media is even more vital. It's even more vital because one of the things that you have to continuously do is cultivate your mind to be ready for the media. As you know, there is a lot that comes with being in the media. You know, are you ready to possibly deal with critics? Are you ready even to deal with the success that comes from putting your message out there and actually being received? If you're not used to receiving credibility or notoriety, you have to be prepared. Your inner game has to be mastered, you know, for that. And I really just believe that everybody's preparation process should really include not only a master planning process, but also a mindset and even a competency challenge really at every phase. So since we're in the Olympic energy, you always have to go for the goal and prepare your mind, your mental muscles, and everything you do as if you're going for the goal. And when you're doing that, you will begin to increase your confidence, and then you can start really implementing effectively. Start breaking your task down maybe into some small goals with some deadlines. I know there are a lot of teachers who talk about taking massive action and really getting into action, but make sure you're getting into the right aligned and right inspired actions as you're accurately preparing, and that's a mindset shift as well. So I just really wanted to make that distinction of what I was speaking about earlier to share preparation from a different vantage point.
Yeah, I appreciate that because they really are different things, but equally important, I would think, you know, that you have to have the mindset and you also have to do the work of preparing, and they are, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
Definitely. Would you like me to expound upon any of the others?
Publicity.
Okay, that goes back to alignment. that definitely goes back to alignment. I'm so glad you actually selected that one because I can say this very, very quickly. you need to have the right aligned media exposure via online and offline using, various platforms because, again, it's not enough just to have a lot of publicity, but you want to make sure that you have the aligned publicity so that you're presenting your message to the right audience. And as we've been talking, mostly about the preparation process, about being accurately prepared for effectively really showcasing yourself to the right audience, this is also true with publicity. Getting media exposure is great, but you want to make sure that you are showcasing your messages to the right venues because that's what's going to catapult your success. And if I can, I want to plug this in really quick. If you have different offerings, I would suggest that you share certain offerings on a particular media platform, but maybe some of your higher-end offerings you share at a live event. And we can talk about that more when we get into, talking more about the profits. But you definitely want to start separating or categorizing how you show up in the media and who you really desire to attract, because that's extremely important as it relates to publicity. Another thing around publicity is making sure that you have, if you're using a publicist or, a PR firm, you definitely want to make sure you've got the right aligned one.
Yeah, which I think is hard. So, that's what part of the reason why I wanted you to talk about this subject, because I think, how does someone know what the right one is?
Well, sometimes, trial and error obviously can, can help to assist us with knowing. But this goes to being in the present moment and actually how the present moment really can help to facilitate your growth and expansion, so it creates the awareness of what it is that you need to do in order to properly position yourself and who are the people who need to be a part of that process. It's really a very intuitive time. You have to really listen to your gut. And like I said, trial and error can definitely teach us. But we kind of need to get a sense of being clear about what we want, who we want to work with. And when that individual shows up, we can sort of gauge from the ideal, like you choose an ideal client. Who is your ideal publicist, and do they have these, qualifications? Do you start to build a relationship with them, prior to allowing them to start showcasing you? So those are ways that you can start to really get to know someone and make a connection. And then you can test them after 90 days to see if this is going to be a working relationship and also the results that you start to get.
So, gosh, thank you so much for that. For a couple of reasons. One, because that was exactly what I was wondering about, but also because you reminded me of the question that I wanted to ask you, which this is just perfect. It just falls right into it, which is, because you've talked about this, the power of the present moment. Mm-hmm. So you just talked about it again and said, that's why that's so important there. So would you please talk some more about that and, share with my listeners what you mean by that? You've sort of, you've talked some about why it's important, but I want to make sure they understand what that is.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So the present moment is where all of the power is, and the now moment is really all that exists, so that's why we need to really be present, because the present moment is a gift to us. That's why it's called the present. And because it has so much wisdom to offer us. So this is extremely important when we're talking about powerfully positioning ourselves in the media, and especially as it relates to profits. And I have a saying, if you want to get paid, you better get present. And so
I love that.
And so the present moments really allows us to create the awareness that I was speaking about earlier for really catapulting our media success. And it's in those moments, these now moments, where we really learn how to make those shifts that we were speaking about earlier. So a couple of those shifts are shifting our present perception. How do you even see your media agenda? How do you see your business? How do you see yourself? So there's, perceptions that you might have to up-level in the present moment. Also being open and awake to present possibilities and present opportunities. And when you are in the present moment and being very focused, you also discover the things that you need to up-level, and this could be your offerings, the products, the service, your brand, but you'll also be aware of what you need to let go, or if certain aspects of your branding or of your products need to be repurposed or repositioned. So being present will really provide you with the wisdom and the insights that you need for either positioning or for some repositioning themselves in the media. So the present moment also provides us with the opportunity to connect to our present power. So if we're going to show up powerfully, we definitely have to be tapped into the source of ourselves to be able to exude that power in the marketplace. So this is the source of your truest passions, so that you're able to serve the masses and your purpose at the highest level. And as we talked about in the preparation process, accurately serving people at the highest level. And this is where you're able to grasp the wisdom and the insights. And also, this is about really discovering new awarenesses, even about your strengths. And when you find out about the new awarenesses about the power you have, the strength you have, no longer playing small. I really don't even like to use that phrase, playing small or playing big. I'm about playing true.
Yeah.
So when you're playing true, you find out in the present moments how you need to infuse those strengths so that you can powerfully show up in the media and play from those strengths, to the point that if you do have any so-called imperfections or weaknesses, so to speak, they become irrelevant to your target market, because your target market sees how you're showing up and they're ready to have you to accelerate their success. So when you powerfully show up in the media from your place of truth, that place of power, of who you really are as the unique expression, and that goes back even to your branding power, then this is how you're able to powerfully align yourself with the right opportunities, position yourself to profit, and not just profit from a financial perspective, but really from a holistic vantage point, so that you're able to really set yourself up for success in all areas. So this is why it's really important to be present really in your everyday life. And this is not just about slowing down, being still so you can meditate, and those are great. So don't get me wrong. All of those are great, and they're very important. But this presence, what I'm talking about, being present, is really about being awake to your good in every moment. And as I mentioned before, I say if you want to get paid, you better get present. But if you're too busy in your daily routine, then what happens is that we start to become distracted, and we won't fully be awake to all of the golden opportunities that are available in the present, and then we might miss what I call having a profitable aha moment. And that profitable aha moment might invite us to take right-inspired actions on something, but if we're too busy and we're distracted and we haven't really got present to know the shifts that we need to make, what we need to up-level, we miss those opportunities. So that's how the present moments really help you to get repositioned, or positioned rather, to play full out at the highest level.
That's great. Thanks. And
I know it's a mouthful.
No, it's really great. I get it, and I'm really glad that you shared it, because I think it is really so very important. And I love the way you talked about how if you're not, you miss signals, and you can miss opportunities. And it's great, because it also then takes us to the next question, which is about residual revenue and profit and, actually making money as a result of our media efforts. So
right. Yes.
Talk about what some of those thoughts, some of those ideas.
Absolutely. And again, as you mentioned, that's why the present moment is very important, very vital, is because that's where we get a lot of our insights in terms of how we start to create residual income, because we're present enough to know the shifts that we need to make and some of the inspired actions that we need to take. So I want to preface this by just saying that profiting through the media and through our media efforts is really more important than we think. And this is more than just about having, resources to create a better lifestyle or to pay off your debts. One of the things we know is that you can't effectively advance your success or take your brand or your business to the next level if you aren't making meaningful profits or more than enough through using the current media exposure model that you're using. If you don't have the resources, it won't allow you to really expand your brand or your message or even up-level everything that you're doing. So one of the best ways to powerfully position yourself for profits is, as we mentioned, get present, of course, but also start focusing on designing a higher-level profits model. And you can do this for your short, mid, and long-term success. But what we're going to do is just really focus on the short term just for the sake of time. So when we're actually putting together a profits model to profit through the media, this requires a planning process really with a reverse engineering process, if you will, where we start really thinking with the end in mind. And so, as I mentioned, we'll start focusing on this. Talk about creating a short term. So we'll talk about maybe doing it for 30 to 90 days. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, great. So I also want to say that this involves up-leveling your clarity of vision, because we should have a vision and a mission statement for what it is that we're doing. But at some point, you need to up-level even the clarity around what you think you're clear about. So you're able to create a more clear, concise plan for achieving a higher impact and income goals, because you definitely want to do that. But I am going to say this as well. Even though you're putting together your model and you have your goals, you have to be really detached from the unfolding of how those will manifest. Because oftentimes we make our plans, and there's a saying, if you want to make God laugh, plan your day or plan your life. But in order for the better opportunities to manifest through the media, it's okay to make a tentative plan, but sometimes you have to be detached from how those opportunities are going to show up. Yeah. So one of the things I like to do is really, before getting into any planning process around profits, is to really set a powerful intention and an expression sort of to prime the pump for your profit planning process. So, we'll do a little bit of that. So you want to start your development or creation process with a high vibration. So what I would like to invite our listeners to do at this time is I'm going to share a quote. And you can use this quote when you're starting to plan for your profits. So everyone, take a nice deep breath. And just say silently to yourself, I now open my mind to rich ideas and to rich results. I am rich in mind and in manifestation now. And I'll repeat that. I now open my mind to rich ideas and to rich results. I am rich in mind and in manifestation now. And take a nice deep breath. So what this does is it sort of helps to set the tone for starting to create a high-end profits model. And if you haven't noticed in this show, I like to ask empowering questions. So I have some questions I would like the audience to consider. So is it all right if I share those right now?
Sure.
Okay, great. So one of the empowering questions that people can begin to ask themselves as they're setting up their profits model for the media, say, I'm curious to know, in the present moment, how to take 7-figure actions to profit big with media? So that's a question that you can consider asking yourself. Another one is, I'm wondering, how do I get paid in full within the next 90 days using media? And then I'll give one more.
Okay.
So you can ask, how do I powerfully position myself even this week to profit through the media?
Yeah.
So those are just some powerful questions to consider as you're starting to design and set up a profits model that's going to help you to profit in the media. And this also goes back to deciding from the 7 pillars which areas you're going to powerfully show up in. And then also you have to start even defining your ideal income bracket of what your prospects and customers will pay. And often, we're told that we can't serve everyone and we need to focus on one niche. And that's true to a certain extent. We definitely need to have a clear focus. But there also comes a time, and this is going to be a stretch, where you have to start narrowing down and focus on either being a high-end profits model and attracting high-end customers, or are you going to do the low-end or the medium ticket sales? So sometimes you're going to have to make that distinction or define that, where are you wanting to powerfully show up. So when you try to serve several people at different price points, especially from the same platform, it begins to scatter your energy for creating your results. Yeah. So if you desire to be, let's say, a high-end service provider, then you're going to have to separate some of the energy of those low to medium ticket offerings and maybe put them on a different site or different platforms. And if you aren't able to put them on another site, then I would suggest that you make them hidden pages on your site and maybe just begin to market them when you're on interviews or maybe guest blogging or in blog posts. But if you want to be seen as a high-level consultant or coach or speaker, so then you want to make sure that you are presenting high-end. I used to be in the hotel industry in management eons ago, but but the concepts still apply. So when you want to position yourself in the media through a presence perspective, especially as a high-end, high-ticket, consultant or entrepreneur, you have to think about how hotel chains, major 5-star hotel chains, normally position themselves. When you see them, they are in the midst of other 5-star or high-level hotels. Rarely do you see a Motel 6 or a mom-and-pop hotel next to a 5-star. I'm not saying that you can't, that you don't, rather, but rarely do you see them together. Do you agree?
Oh, definitely.
Yes. So having that concept in mind of sort of categorizing where your offerings are going to be so that you can not send mixed signals of how you're going to show up. Celebrity chefs, they're very clear. I serve celebrities. So my ideal client is this, their income bracket is this. And it doesn't mean that they won't offer classes or they don't teach or won't serve others who aren't celebrities, but where they want to lead and position themselves from to show up powerfully is from that celebrity chef vantage point. So that's how we have to, as entrepreneurs as well, start showing up and positioning ourselves. So I want to share something really quick, for the sake of time. I also want our listeners to consider starting to create from the energy of a 7-figure business model versus how do I get to 7 figures? Because everything is about, vibration and really setting up your next level so that you can attract the things that you want. So I want you to begin also looking at the low and medium or the lower hanging fruit offers that you have. Start seeing each of them as empires. so that you can start actually extracting the higher level energy from them, so that you can create and start designing a higher level profits model that you can begin to showcase in the media and powerfully position yourself. Another suggestion, too, is radio interviews. Start leveraging those, sometimes using those as your free products or even teleclasses. I would suggest that instead of using radio interviews to keep getting more radio interviews, so to speak, use your radio interviews and those teleclass recordings to use as lead-ins to position you for speaking opportunities.
Yeah.
And, create a portfolio for yourself. Use maybe 2 or 3 of your best interviews or your teleclass, and then prepare those in an email. Send them to event coordinators and event planners or speaking bureaus or speaking platforms, and tell them that you've included just portions of what would be a module of maybe a bigger talk. And if they're interested in learning more, then they might invite you to submit a video, but at least your foot is in the door. And even if they can't use you, they can always refer you.
That is so great, and I'm sitting here thinking to myself, because we are coming up against our hour, that this has been nonstop, really valuable information. I mean, it has just been, people. I'm going to have to listen to this a couple of times, because these ideas.
Thank you. And I haven't even shared the high-end model yet. I can share that really quickly if you want. I can try to do that within a minute or two if you.
It's got to be really quick. Go ahead. Yeah, if you do it really quick, that'd be great.
Okay. So if you want to create a high-end model, I'm going to share this really quick. Start thinking in terms of creating a $2,500 high-end product, starting at that price point. Think of creating a high-end 6 to 8 weeks master course that starts at $4,800. And then also you can do a retainer model of a high-end consulting package, and you can range that from $25,000 to maybe $100,000 a year or more. One of the ways you can use this to powerfully position yourself online is host a virtual VIP day or a half day at $5,000, and then take those recordings and maybe add a few additional related telesummits that were hosted by your colleagues to make your $2,500 digital or physical product. Also teach a high-end virtual master class that's a 2-hour to 6-hour intensive online. Lead that into your $4,800 6 to 8 week master course, and then of course you can do a virtual high-end mastermind day starting at $10,000, and lead that into your higher consulting packages. So it's time to play the game you're here to play. Start preparing for that which you think you're not qualified for, and you'll find out you're overqualified.
Okay, now.
Uh-oh. I had to run that through that quick. Of course, I could expound upon that.
No.
We don't have time.
We don't, but this is so perfect, because this is what I'm going to say. Right now I want you to tell my listeners how they can find you and how they can get a hold of you so that they can learn more about how to do that kind of thing, because that's like the perfect, that's a great idea, but they're going to sit there and listen to that and go, okay, and so, Alicia, tell them how they can find you and get a hold of you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. They can learn more about me at www.aliciawaterscrossindustries.com, and also they can find me on Facebook under that same handle, and also at Alicia Nicole Waters if anyone wants to friend me. They also can message me at info@aliciawaterscrossindustries.com.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And, guys, I highly recommend that you do that. You've heard so many great ideas that Alicia's been sharing with us. And, if you get a hold of her, she can go into more detail or, give you, based on whatever you're doing, probably, you can work with her to create a roadmap. So, Alicia, thank you so much for being here and sharing all of that information. I also want to thank our listeners for listening in, and our sponsor, Audible.com. To get your free trial and a free audiobook, go to audibletrial.com/businessgrowth to sign up. Our next show is going to be on September 12th, when my guest will be Diane Gardner. we are going to be talking about how you can save money in your business with some pre-tax planning. One of those subjects that we really, really need to pay attention to, but we don't necessarily. So hopefully you will all join me again on September 12th, and we can learn stuff that we need to know that's working on our business as opposed to in our business. So once again, Alicia, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.